And hello everyone, welcome back to your TKinter course. So let's set up our application from the start again before we continue. So we say from TKinter import, and we want to import everything. Whoops, let me just fix that. And then we want to say root is equal to tk. This is optional, but I always recommend doing that. And we can say root.main loop. And there we go. Now if we were to run this file, then here we go. We have our little screen here, our little window. Perfect. So in the previous video, we did talk about gridding things. And if you didn't see that, I'd highly recommend you do because it can be really useful. But today we will be talking about buttons because it's user input. You want to get user input. You want the user to be able to press a button and something should happen. So let's do that. So I'm going to create a button. So my btn, I mean, I like staying lowercase here, and that is equal to a button. So it's just as easy as that. And it should be attached to root, just like with a label. And here we can put some text. So text is equal to click me. And there you go. When you click it, then something should happen, but the button itself will say click me. And then we can just say my button dot pack. Now if I were to run this, as you can see there's a click me, and if I click it you can see some action happening. Cool. So we have created a basic button. Now we need to make it do things. So I'm going to create a function, and whoops, this function is going to be my clicked function. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it click for simplicity. Then I'm going to create a label, and this label will be attached to root, and the text will be equal to, and let's say this is the amount of times the button was clicked. So here I'm going to say clicked, or let's say num clicked is equal to 0. Okay, then here we can say global num clicked, because we need to get that global variable, and you can say num clicked is equal to num clicked plus 1. Then here for text we can just say num clicked. So when they click the button, this label should be packed to the screen, and then it should say how many times the button has been clicked. We can even, if you wanted to, put this inside of an if string. If you don't know what an if string is, I highly recommend you do go watch my Python tutorial. Anyhow, so then here we can say clicked times, and it's going to say how many times it has been clicked. Perfect. So when you click it, that should pop up, and that should be packed, not packed, and yeah, it should just say how many times it has been clicked. And in here we can just say that the function it should call, or the command it should call, should go here. So we can say command, and you can make the command equal to, so the command right here is equal to this function right there. So let's see what happens if we run the program. We say click me, clicked 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. That is pretty cool. Now what happens here? Why are we seeing this? Well, we have a button, and when we click this button, it calls the command clicked. Now the command clicked gets this variable right here. The variable is outside of the function because we need to keep track of the variable itself. And in here, we say num clicked, which we get from outside, from right here at global, is equal to itself plus 1. Then we say the label should be placed here. So a label should be placed here. That's what this pack and that label means, with the text of clicked and the amount of times it has been clicked, and in times. Okay, so yeah, it just says how many times it has clicked it. And when you click it, it just does that. And because it's packed, it's going to just put it underneath every time. You don't have to put it inside a variable. It's just recommended for if you want to reuse it later again. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now there's more things you can do with a button. For example, let's create more buttons. So I'm just going to not put them inside variables. It's up to you if you want to put them inside variables, but I'm going to just grid them right now. And I'm not going to click the buttons. I'm just going to remove that command. I'm going to say .grid, and it's going to be row is equal to 0, and column is equal to, let's say, 0 as well. I'm going to copy and paste that a little bit. Then I'm just going to keep it in the same row, but change the column to 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if we need that many, but it's fine. Now, inside of this button, or these buttons, we want to add a state. Now, a state is pretty cool. You can say what state a button should be. For example, we actually only need, we actually only need 3, to be honest, so let's do that. Now, there are 3 states. So we have disabled. Disabled just basically means disabled. And we can paste here as well. And here we can say normal. And in here we can say active. And the reason why we're doing squiggly lines is because there should be a comma right there. Save this, and now if you run the program, we have 3 buttons. We have a button that is disabled, so we cannot click that button. We have a button that is a normal button. It's normal. If we click it, it's going to do its thing. And you have a button that says a state of active. And they're relatively the same, to be honest. So you can just use normal or active, because I don't think there's much of a difference between them, but there is a different state. So yeah, there's not much of a difference between these two, it seems. So normal and active is basically the same in terms of looks. Okay, and that is the few states you can have. You can also add some styling to buttons. For example, we can remove all of these. So for the first button, I'm going to give it a padding. So pad x is equal to 50. And let's just see how that looks, so you can get it in a vision. So padding is just that. It just makes this inside of the button a little bit bigger. And x is the x-axis, so from left to right. And y would be from top to bottom. So x-axis, y-axis. So we can actually do a padding y as well if we wanted to. So let's, for this one here, we say padding y. And then for one right here, we can keep it normal, but we can change the foreground by saying FG, and we can say red. I'm going to create another one here. Let's make another 2. It's going to be 3, and it's going to be 4. This is going to have a background color of red, and this one is going to have a pad X, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to have a 50 and a 0. Let's see what happens, and then we can talk about it. Or actually, we don't have to cover this right now. We can just remove that. It might be a little bit too complicated for right now. So here we have it. We have a normal button with a padding of X that just goes 50 side to side. We have a button with a padding of Y that goes 50 top to top. Then you have a button with a foreground of red. Foreground meaning the text, what is on the button. In this case, it's the text, the click me, and it's red unless you hover over it. And then the background color is the color that is of the button itself. So foreground is what is on the button, and background is the button itself. And that's about all there is in terms of buttons. So you can just grid or pack them, and you can add events to them. So if you click them, something happens. You can change their padding for their X and their Y. You can change their foreground and their background color. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all again in the next TKinter tutorial.